How's it going, guys? Violet 4K aka Tim bringing you another video. Today I want to touch on a couple things for new PC players. So these are some tips I can give you guys to help learn and play on PC. Now, this isn't gonna be necessarily what you should do or what everyone does. This is kind of how I learned to play. Now, it's gonna be different for everyone. People are gonna learn at their own pace. People are gonna be naturally good at some games. People are gonna be naturally good at just picking up keyboard rather than mouse, or vice versa. And just some people are going to take a little longer than the others, but depending on how long you've been playing, say, console, or just not used to playing on a keyboard. So for me, the hardest thing was definitely going to be the keyboard. Now, it took me a really long time to get the muscle memory built up in my hands to where at the point I felt comfortable not looking down at the keyboard to press certain buttons. I mean, this took me quite a while. I mean, that's really just something you have to play around with. And one thing I would say, and this is going to be tip number one, is to just find key bindings that you can carry over to similar games and just get comfortable with those and use them over and over. Now, the muscle memory is just something you have to get used to and build up. But if you're able to use certain key bindings on other games, such as Battle Royale games, so for example, my key bindings for PUBG are very similar to H1. Now, I've put a lot of time into H1, so obviously my hands are pretty good at whatever the key bindings I have on H1 are, so that's why I carry them over to PUBG. Now, it's something that is very easy to get used to. I know sometimes for certain games, like say if you're playing a first-person shooter, it can be a little harder to get the key bindings right because they're not exactly the same. You don't have interact buttons, you don't have any kind of similarities except for maybe crouch, moving, aiming, and shooting. Like those are pretty important though, and those are pretty self-explanatory. The only thing I don't like about some FPSs are toggle ADS. Toggle ADS can be very annoying and frustrating, and I don't know how people can use it, to be honest. I know some people maybe have like just preferences, or maybe their hands are just easier to just click it and then unclick. For me, I have to hold down the right mouse button in order for me to aim down sight. I hate toggle, just maybe because I'm not used to it, but I honestly hate it. But just find key bindings that you're comfortable with and just stick to them. Whatever you can do, just stick to them from game to game. That's probably one of my first and easiest tips you can get used to. Second would just be finding something that a keyboard that has the right kind of keycaps for you. And I don't mean just keycaps, but also the switches. So as you know, a lot of keyboards have different switches. Some are more sensitive, some are more tactile, some are harder to click, require more pressure. For example, you have red switches, which are very sensitive, so just press it a little bit and it's going to start typing stuff. So it's just something that you have to get used to. There's brown switches, which is what I use, a little more tactile. You don't have to put as much pressure, but they're not as easy. And then you have blue switches, which are very tough. They require a lot of pressure to start typing anything. So those are some that you can get used to and find. And even for some keyboards, they can have keycaps that you can put on your keyboard that will help you with your movement and where you can put your fingers. So just a matter of playing around and getting used to something. So another thing I'm going to talk about is your sensitivity. Everyone's different. So some people are wrist movers, some people are arm movers. I'm personally a arm mover. I have a big enough mouse pad and a big enough desk that allows me to play with my arm rather than my wrist. It's just more comfortable for me. So it's just whatever you're comfortable with. I would just say find what you like. Some people just don't have the room either, so they tend to use their wrist. So if you're a wrist mover, you tend to have higher DPI rather than me. I play on a 600 DPI with about, for H1, we'll just say 7% in game and then 4% aiming. So it's just a matter of finding a sensitivity you're comfortable with, and then don't change sensitivities. A mistake that a lot of people can make is changing your sensitivities constantly. If you're constantly changing and playing around with your sensitivities, your arm or your wrist is not going to get that muscle memory to where it's going to allow you to aim properly. When you're messing with your muscle memory, it's just like anything. It's going to be a lot harder to get used to things. So I would just say find a DPI and a sensitivity that you can get used to and just stick to it. Don't change it unless you really feel like it's not something you can get used to. That's really the most important thing. I would suggest getting used to it as much as you can and then just going from there. So those are two basic basic tips. I would say for my third and last tip, just play. You just got to put time into the game. It's the easiest way. You're not going to get used to mouse and keyboard if you're not used to playing with it. So I would just say those are the 3 basic tips: playing, finding keys or key switches that are going to be good for you, and then finding a sensitivity that is just going to be the same, and also finding similarities in key bindings. Those are the main tips I can give you to try to succeed as a mouse and keyboard player on PC. So if you guys did enjoy the gameplay in the background, just some stream highlights that I had from the other week, just some good kill games that I unfortunately wasn't able to win. Unfortunately, I can't always win every game. I wish I could, but sometimes you don't win them all. But again, I do appreciate you guys checking out the video, and if you're new, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will catch you guys in another video. Have a wonderful evening, guys. Bye-bye.